You are listening to the Hiking Radio Network, where we talk the walk with shows by hikers, about hikers, for everybody.
Mighty Blue on the Appalachian Trail, the ultimate midlife crisis. Join Steve and his guests every week as he staggers from Georgia to Maine.
Hi, and thanks very much indeed for your patience. This is Mighty Blue on the Appalachian Trail, and it has been a while. In fact, it's been 6 days since you heard from me, and this episode is another one. It's just me catching up with you. No guests, just more miles under our belts. Why don't we just get straight into it? The last time we were together, we'd hiked 7 miles southbound with Trigger's boys and had gotten into Vermont. Let's pick it up there. Day 131, County Road, mile 1601.6, northbound to Melville Nauheim Shelter, mile 1614.4, just a 12.8 mile day. We had spent the evening with the boys, had a good dinner and really enjoyed it. And when we'd been driving up to the county road the day before, when we were given a lift, we noticed that we passed a place called Renee's Diner in North Adams. And I went there back in 2014 and spent about 3 or 4 hours in there. And they still had the super hungry man breakfast on the menu. So when we were driving back the next morning, the guys took us up in their truck to drop us off at the top, and we stopped in at Renee's Diner, and me and Trigger both had the super hungry man breakfast, for which we were eminently qualified. I said the day before that the guy had taken us up in a regular car. This was a proper truck, and got us up no problem at all. I think it was a Ford F-150. Got us up absolutely no problem at all, and we eventually got there. Hugs all round. It'd been great to spend that time with Trigger's boys. Got to know more about Trigger, I guess. Trigger's quite a quiet guy, and I don't really know much about his life, but seeing him with the boys was good for me, actually. I'm sure it was great for him as well, and the boys seemed to really enjoy spending time with us. So we were back to where we were the day before, but we were going north this time. The weather is always one of the things uppermost in our mind when we set out, and it looked like there were going to be thunderstorms around 1:30 or 2 o'clock. So we were fairly late in starting, so we had no really ambitious targets, and we thought we were very likely going to get wet at some stage. So we headed out, and as happens so often, the thunderstorms that were due to appear kept being put back. I kept, whenever I got signal, I checked for the weather, and having said the first thunderstorms likely at 12:15, suddenly they were likely at 1:30, and then you see the map and the radar, they looked like they were avoiding us, and it was quite amazing how we dodged in and around them all afternoon. But then from about midday, we started hearing thunder, and it was quite loud at some stages as well, but no rain at all. And we could have got off at Route 9 and gone into Bennington. That would have been probably about a 10-mile day, which wouldn't have been too bad. But Trigger is very keen that we should continue to the shelter. We do spend too much time in hotels and motels, I guess. So we took on a 1,000-foot climb right at the end of our day, even though it was only quite a short day, just 12.8 miles. And we took on this 1,000-foot climb over 1.6 miles. And because the rain was imminent, we knew it was coming. We could smell it in the air, the humidity and everything. I'm sure everybody could smell us as well, because we were sweating profusely because of that humidity and the climb. So we got utterly drenched, as you can imagine. We got there was just a guy from Seattle. He'd set up in his tent behind the shelter. I said, "This weather's coming, and you should look at it." And he looked at his phone, and he said, "Oh my gosh, the barometric pressure is dropping. There's a big thunderstorm coming, and a lot of rain, and a lot of wind." But he said, "I'm going to try out my tent and see how it sets up." Trigger and I were not as brave. There were camping spots there, but we decided to stay in the shelter. I don't like staying in the shelters, but I will stay in the shelter because it does give you the opportunity of of not packing up a wet tent in the morning, and I was rather pleased that I did that. By now, because we were so hot, there was a stream about, 50 yards downhill back at the trail where we turned off to come to the shelter. So I went back there and stripped down to my waist and washed myself down, which was really great. I've got a quite a good sized towel, which I then dried myself off with. So I washed both myself and my clothes in the stream. I mean, they were drenched already, and they stayed drenched, to be honest with you. But now I've got 2 pairs of pants and 2 shirts. I have an alternative, which I didn't have before. So I thought if they don't dry, which they obviously weren't going to, then I can wear the others anyway. So got back to the shelter. Then a young guy and an older woman turned up, and they camped. And really, I thought, oh, this is not a good idea to camp. And the rain came. My gosh. It poured down just as a young couple came in, a couple of flip-floppers from Wisconsin. It poured at about 5:30 in the afternoon. So we were really, really lucky. Our timing could not have been more perfect, and some of the others weren't so lucky. A couple of other people turned up later on, completely drenched, of course. But as I say, I don't like being in the shelter, and I did have a pretty lousy night because the shelter was set up almost like in 2 sets of bunks, and the young couple from Wisconsin were moving around all night long, and the woman had an air pad. She said, it does make quite a lot of noise. Oh my gosh. It makes a huge amount of noise. I could hear this eruption going every time she turned over. But I'm sure I was just as bad as well, because I've got an air bed as well, and it seems to make a bit of a noise. But we got through the night, and we didn't get wetter than the sweat. And frankly, not packing up that wet tent in the morning is a big bonus. So that's the end of day number 131. Day number 132, Melville-Nauheim Shelter, mile 1614.4 to Story Spring Shelter, mile 1631.8, a 17.4 mile day. The climb the day before up to the shelter had got us up to nearly 2,500 feet. So we spent much of the day at those elevations and higher. We haven't gone over 4,000 feet. I think it's for nearly 1,000 miles. I may be wrong. Maybe it's about 800 or 900 miles, but a long time back, and we still don't go over 4,000 feet until we get into New Hampshire. But that day we were heading up Glastonbury Mountain. It's 3,750 feet, so we knew that the elevation we were at, even though we were quite high, we'd be going quite a bit higher. And we're aware of more and more mountains now. We're aware of these climbs, and these climbs are kicking our butt, as they always did. But, we're getting up them every time. I mean, I keep thinking that all the time. So we were, we started climbing, and because we were up relatively high, we were going up gently, and so the climbs weren't too bad. And Glastonbury Mountain at 3,750 feet, there was a great view of Mount Greylock to the south and all around. But there would have been no views had there not been a lookout tower. You get to the top of the mountain and you're in a forest still, so there are no views. But then you climb up this tower and you see these incredible views all around you. It was another beautiful, warm day, and we really loved it. And the feature about this area, just before the top of Glastonbury Mountain, is a Goddard Shelter. And just after it, well, I say sometime after it, a couple of miles after it, is a place called Kid Gore Shelter. And there we were told that there was a friendly, well, I don't know if friendly is the word, but an unconcerned bear going between those two shelters, and kept turning up when hikers were there, and nothing seemed to put him off. And we were actually shown a picture of the bear having gone into the privy, sitting on the privy, and he pretty much wrecked inside the privy and chucking stuff around and so on. And at the Goddard Shelter, there were actually rocks to throw at the bear, which sounds a bit cruel, I know, but he wasn't threatening anybody apparently. But yeah, so the people had some pictures of this bear who just kind of likes hanging around these shelters. Guess he wants a bit of company, I suppose. Don't we all? When we're on the way down, Trigger said, "Mighty Blue, come back and look at this." I thought he must have seen some animal of some sort, but actually all it was a track. but it was a moose track. He said, because he hunts deer, so he knows deer. He said, that is much, he said, that'd be a huge deer if it was a deer. That is a moose. And it was this huge moose track. So they're around, and we haven't seen one yet, like we've seen hardly any wildlife at all. So the day we were going down further and further, and we eventually got to the shelter we were heading for, which was Story Spring Shelter. And there, surprisingly to us, was Nate, or Turd Ferguson, and Sharktooth. And they told us they would probably be slowing down in Vermont, and they hadn't actually explained why. Turns out that Sharktooth's dad was looking forward to hiking for 10 days with them in Vermont, but he hadn't coped at all well with the first couple of days. And so Sharktooth was really, really worried about him, and he didn't come out of his tent when we were there, and she was worried about him. And so it turned out that he just wasn't feeling well at all. And so they were going to take him off the trail the next day. And they took him 2 miles, I think it was, the next day, and he got off the trail. And we were talking with another young lady at the shelter. Her name was Liv. She was hiking the long trail. And the 5 of us were took me, Trigger, Sharktooth, Turd, and Liv were talking about this. There's a very specific fitness which through hiking gives you. It isn't what other people, it doesn't prepare you for anything else. It doesn't prepare you to run a marathon, I guess, or anything like that at all. It prepares you to through hike. And anybody coming onto this trail and hiking with a through hiker will find it difficult. I know we had Barb Erschlegel a couple of weeks ago. She did a great job hiking with us. But really, she was tired when she was done. And I think, there is a certain type of fitness that you can only get by actually doing it. And Sharktooth's dad, who was so looking forward to hiking in Vermont with them, had to get off the next day and was unable to do it. But I hear now he's fine again. So I wish you well, and hope you feel a lot better now. That night, I made another of my classic errors of thinking I'd found a flat spot to pitch my tent, but I hadn't. Even sitting up on my air pad, I was kind of rolling to one side. So I knew I was in for an uncomfortable night. And I was indeed correct. It was an uncomfortable night. So it was a lousy end to what was quite a nice day, quite accomplished day, 17.4 miles. We saw a great view from the top of Glastonbury Mountain. But apart from that, there were very, very few views at all. But we'd enjoyed the hike, and we're still pretty strong, 17.4 miles. So that's the end of day number 132. Day number 133, Story Spring Shelter, mile 1631.8 to VT, or Vermont, route 11/30 and into Manchester Centre, which was a 21.1 mile day. We started off with 4 miles downhill, so that was kind of a nice start. We normally try to stop where we have a climb at the beginning of the day. We normally take enough breakfast to give us the calories to get up a big climb, but it was quite a relaxed start of the day. But we knew the big climb of the day was up Stratton Mountain. This one is at 3940 feet, still not over 4,000 feet yet, but we knew it was quite a big one, and it was about 1,750 foot climb, but it was relatively straightforward in that it was over about 3.5 miles, maybe 4 miles actually. So we're getting used to these longer climbs. It's almost as if Vermont is easing us into the sort of climbs we're going to get into New Hampshire. Except they're steeper, no doubt about it. They're over shorter distance, and they are different in nature. You find yourself often scrambling up rocks in New Hampshire and pulling by the roots of trees to pull yourself up. These are normal, just climbing ones, but I think it's great for the legs. It's really working our legs a big workout. So when we got there, at the top of Stratton Mountain, it was glorious. Another fire tower. We enjoyed going up the fire tower, looking around again, seeing these beautiful views again as well. And once we'd done that, we actually hung out there and had a bit of lunch, Trigger and I, and we met Grateful again at the top. She'd been hiking around us a bit, and we met her some while back, but she was there again, happy as ever, and we just headed off down as she turned up. And we were heading down towards Stratton Pond. And, before I do that, no, that's okay. I'm reading my notes here, and I've made a bit of a mess up in my notes. I apologise for that. We went down. We're going down Stratton Pond, and there's this little clearing that the AT takes you right to the pond's edge, and a mini little beach, I suppose you could call it. And sitting there was Liv with her feet in the pond. She'd been swimming, and a caretaker. This young lady was a caretaker. I guess she must have been in her early 20s. We asked her about what she does. She's the caretaker. She's in the woods until October. Basically, she maintains Stratton Pond. Don't know how she actually does that, but she maintains Stratton Pond and looks after and cares for and clears up the privies. Now, she seemed perfectly happy doing this, and the being alone by herself in the woods seemed to really do it for her. She was really comfortable. She was sitting there reading. I kept interrupting her, talking to her. But she was lovely, and she was thoroughly comfortable in the job she was doing, and it was a beautiful spot. You know, we were sitting there, it was warm. I put my feet in the water as well, and so did Trig, and we just hang out there. It was nice. I didn't want to strip down and go into the water, apart from the fact I've now looked like skin and bones at the top. I thought dipping my feet in the water would have been good enough. And my feet have been fine on this trip, and I think I've already explained to you that oboes have this policy, or whatever it is, offer, where if you register your oboes boots, they'll give you 2 free changes if you're doing a through hike. Well, I changed one set just before Harper's Ferry. Well, no, actually it was just before Pennsylvania, actually, I think. That is for Harper's, yeah. Changed one set already, and now I'm changing another set, and I was going to pick those up in Manchester Centre. So I was really looking forward to getting those new boots, but I'm also kind of nervous about it as well, because you're getting these new boots and they're quite tight always. They were last time, but I noticed when I did eventually get them the next day that they were a whole lot, the ones that I'd already changed over back in just before Harper's Ferry, they had stretched quite nicely. So I wore them. I seem to wear shoes in pretty well. And while I was nervous about putting new sets of boots on, I knew I'd wear them in eventually. So I was looking forward to that. But so putting my feet in the water really does seem to help take some of the swelling down. We knew we wanted to get into Manchester Centre that night. Trigger always wants to do extra miles, and I understand that. He's kind of ready to get home, I think, and I am as well. But I want to enjoy the hike as well. So there was this potential out at about 16 miles instead of 21 miles, but we would have needed a detour of about 1.5 miles to get to this parking spot once we got off the trail. And nobody who's hiking the Appalachian Trail, even though they're doing 2,200 miles, wants to take a 1.5 mile detour. So we just carried on. We carried on to route 11/30 for a much longer day than we planned, but we got there. I've said this to Trigger before. I sometimes find the longer days easier than the shorter days. A 17-mile day is often easier than a 12-mile day, and partially I think because you give yourself a target which is quite good, and you're feeling better about your hike as you're going along. We got there after 21 miles. We were tired, no question about it, and we knew we had to hitch a lift. So we hitched a lift, and this guy coming along, he was a painter, really nice fella, gave us a couple of cold beers, which was even better, and he took us into Manchester Centre. And we'd actually booked the Green Mountain Hostel, Green Mountain House Hostel, which was recommended by Bruce Matson. I haven't used one of the platinum blazing hostels recently, but we went in, and they said to us, well, when you're in town, call us when you're ready, once you're resupplied, once you'd eaten. But we were now quite late. So this guy gave us a hitch, recommended we go to a place called Mulligan's, which we did. We had a steak, and when we were there, he bought us a couple of beers each, or he bought us a beer each, and somebody else in the bar also bought us a beer each. They seem to be fascinated still by the idea of these two old gits doing through hiking at the age of 66. So we got 2 free beers and a steak, which was great. And after I'd finished, even though they said they like to finish their their shuttling. The Green Mountain House Hostel like to finish their shuttling by 7. They very kindly came and picked us up about 8 o'clock, which was rather nice. We got there. The hostel was lovely. You get in, you shower and get into loaner clothes, and there were plenty of loaner clothes. Some even fitted me, so that was great. And Odie was there, the guy who does the Hiker Yearbook. Big fan of Odie's, and he does great stuff for the trail. And he told me that his GoFundMe is now funding his project for this year to get the Pacific Crest Trail book as well. So I'm so pleased for him, and he's just an interesting person to speak with. But by now, I knew in my heart I was ready for a zero. I feel we've done so many miles. It turns out we've done about 20 miles straight. 20 days straight, and about 300 miles without a zero. And I was feeling that I needed a zero, but the next day it didn't happen, as you're going to hear. But soon the zero was to come. But that's the end of day number 133. Day number 134. A Vermont Route 11/30, mile 1652.9, to Peru Peak Shelter, mile 1663.0, just a 10.1 mile day. We spent the morning in town. The deal is the hostel will either take you back to the trail or they'll take you into town, and we wanted to go into town. And of course what we needed was breakfast. So they set us up at the Up for Breakfast. We were looking around where we could go, and Up for Breakfast was well rated and excellent, by the way, really excellent. Quite expensive, but very, very good food. By any standards, good food. Nearby was also an outfitter, and nearby also was the UPS store. So within about 50 yards of each other, we could visit those places, because the outfitter I wanted to resupply as well. So I had the breakfast, and I had corned beef hash, eggs, and some sort of sauce with mustard and cream and stuff like that. $17.50. Expensive, but wow, was it tasty. And then I had some French toast with a bunch of berries. Excellent. Really, really enjoyed it. But nearly $40 for breakfast seemed a touch expensive, I've got to tell you. Anyway, I went across to get my boots and put them on. They did seem tight, but I got them on, and all you can do really is put them on and walk in them. There's no other way to wear. I don't think there's any other way to wear them in. And I was planning to do a bit of hiking, not a huge amount of hiking. We're only going about 10 miles, and we knew pretty much where we were going to go. Once again, we saw Grateful in the breakfast place. She was there. We keep bumping into her, and she was chatty as ever. And I'm going to see her actually when I get back from this trip, because she does a yoga thing down in Florida near where I live, and I want to go along to it. I think one of the things about losing weight, as I did last time, you give yourself the opportunity to reestablish a sensible weight for you. I've got way too overweight, obviously. Now I've got the chance to lose some weight, and I think getting some proper, decent movement in my body would be a good idea. So going to yoga, I think, is something that might be quite good for me. So I'm hopefully going to bump into her when I go back to Florida. The resupply choices at the outfitters weren't great, so we had to find somewhere else to go and get some more food. And they told us of a place about a quarter of a mile away, so we walked to that. We got enough stuff to keep going. One of the things that I've definitely come to learn is resupplying just what I need and zero more. I'm trying to come into town with little or no food left, which means that I'm keeping my weight down, and it's working pretty well so far. I think that's one of the things I think I could tell somebody. Try to keep your weight down by not packing out too much food. You will find places to eat. You can eat somewhere else, and just try to restrict what you carry, because otherwise some of these people carry so much darn weight. It's unbelievable. We then came out the place called Price Chopper, I think it's called, and we had to hitch back to the trail. Once again, somebody stopped straight away. Very nice town, actually, Manchester Centre. Well, they're very trail friendly. They understand the concept of being good to hikers, and they took us back to this guy. Took us back to the trail. A very, very chatty guy. We were ready to go again. And once again, we started with a climb. This was up, this time, Bromley Mountain, which is a ski slope, funny enough, or ski mountain. It's a 1,500-foot climb this time, over 3 miles, ending on a ski slope. And it's funny, actually. You're going through the trees all the time, and suddenly you come out, and you can tell it's a ski run in the winter. And I'm thinking to myself, man, this must be difficult, a difficult ski run. But I got to the top, it was a green run, the easiest run of all. So walking up is a whole lot different to skiing down it, let me tell you. But once again, we got up there, no problem at all. We were at the top. And when we were at the top, there's this ski gondola and a hut, and you can sit on a bench there and rest a bit. And looking all around you, you've got this wide open view at the top, all around you. Mountains, you can see as far as New Hampshire in the north. You can see some of the mountains coming up that we've got to go over. And it was just, it was nice to be up there. It's also a day hike, so a bunch of day hikers came up, and as always, they're fascinated by thru hikers, and they gave us some candies and just chatted with us. It was really nice. And Sharktooth and Turd got up there soon after us, and we were sitting around chatting with them as we do. We got pretty close to those guys and really enjoy their company. Now this time, we didn't just have one big climb, we had another big climb as well, because even though we only went 10 miles, we had to go down and then back up to Styles Peak, 1,000-foot climb this time. So we're really getting, it's almost like and someone said this to me last year, I think actually it was Bruce Matson. It feels like the Appalachian Trail is set up to train you into being ready for New Hampshire and Maine. Because Vermont is just starting to flex our muscles again. We're getting up these hills, and there we are. This is getting us ready for the big climbs to come. So I'm finding it very, very useful, I've got to tell you. We went down from Stars Peak. Actually, we had to go slightly up again, but then down again, from Peru Peak to Peru Peak Shelter. There was one tenting platform which was taken, and fortunately, Trigger and I were there quite early, and there were 2 flat spots, both of which we took, so that was quite comfortable. And once again, Turd and Sharktooth turned up, and Liv, and so we're just chatting with these people now for several days. And there were a few other long trailers there as well. Really nice evening, apart from one thing. Actually, thousands of things. The mosquitoes, or mozzies, as I call them. These things, it's only come really in the last, week or so. I'm being attacked all the time. I'm being bitten, I think, through my clothing. And I've got a rather attractive head net, which I put over I wear my hat with a peak all around it, brim all around it, and my head net goes over the top of it. It does a pretty good job of keeping them away from my face, but man, they get there everywhere. And so these mosquitoes are, and I seem to come up in these kind of welts and pick them, and it's pretty unpleasant. And I've got all my arms are covered in mosquito bites. But it is part of the trail, and it is, I guess, the time of the year when we're getting these sort of things. But it's another thing we have to put up with, and I wouldn't have it any other way. So that's the end of day number 134. Day number 135, Peru Peak Shelter, mile 1663 to Vermont Route 140, mile 1679, a 16-mile day. This was the day I said goodbye to Trigger. But I'll tell you about that in a minute. The terrain looked fairly benign at the start, but there was a thrilling climb up the rocks at Baker's Peak, and it really set up the day. I say it looked fairly flat, but suddenly there was this up, and we were clambering over these angled rocks, really sharp angled rocks, going up and up and up, and it was a beautiful spot, because when we got to the top, there was a couple of people sitting there, and it was great views all around. Actually, great views ahead of us to the north, actually. That's all we could actually see. But it's that feeling I got when I was in New Hampshire, I think, when you're clambering over these rocks and you feel like a mountain climber when you're really when you're really just a hiker. But it was very exciting, and I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I'm sure Trigger enjoyed it as well. The views of Vermont are sudden and limited. We've gone up the Glastonbury Mountain. There was the lookout shelter. We went up Stratton. There was a fire tower, and then we came up Baker's Peak, and that was lovely where it was, but they're very limited. So we spent a lot of the day in Vermont going through either mud. It's not called Vermont for no reason, by the way. My gosh, there hasn't been that much rain, so God knows how bad it's going to be when it really, really pours. But really, it's been pretty bad, and you really have to work your way around it, or you can really go up to your ankles in mud. The other thing they have is these planks which the maintainers have laid down, effectively giving you a plank path through the woods, because it is so boggy there. They're so helpful, and they're kind of springy, and in some cases they're broken and rotten. But generally, it's a great way to get through the woods. But we're not seeing many views. We are going through the woods a heck of a lot. Enjoyable though that is, it's just kind of nice to get out into the sunshine every now and then. And then I'm walking along, and suddenly, just out of nowhere, I hurt my ankle. And I don't know what it was. It didn't slip. It just felt like it tweaked a bit, just a little bit. And I almost fell over. I mean, not as in fell as in tripped. I felt my ankle, I couldn't stand on it. And it passed very quickly. I may have nipped a nerve or something like that. But I made a decision to take a zero at last. Now, let me tell you what the situation was. We've been with Trigger's boys last week and really enjoyed that. Coming up, Trigger's brother, Kevin, was coming up to see us. And the plan was he was going to come and pick us up at Rutland on Friday, I think, take us back to Burlington, where we were going to stay with Trigger's niece, and who I presume is Kevin's daughter. And we were going to have a zero on Saturday. Then he was going to drive us back to the trail on Sunday. I just couldn't wait that long. I felt that this ankle helped me make up my mind on a decision I should have taken some time ago. I've been wanting a zero for some time, and Trigger's been resisting it, which is fine. I understand that. And I've been trying to accommodate, carrying on hiking, but I just feel I'm ready for a zero right now. So I made this decision, but the decision was, to be fair, influenced by something else. Now, the next few seconds will mean nothing to many of you, but the Cricket World Cup is currently going on, and England were playing a semi-final against Australia on Thursday morning, which was the day after this. And so I thought, well, that's a good enough reason anyway, but I needed this zero. And I said to Trigger, I know this is not going to help, your plans, but this is how I'm going to take a zero tomorrow. I may even take one on Friday, I said. So I said, why don't you carry on, keep the plans you had already, and we can meet up again on Sunday when Kevin brings you back, and hopefully that's going to work out that way. So I made that decision, and we went down, carried on hiking, went down to Little Rock Pond, another of those beautiful ponds, and the shelter that was there. We actually missed the shelter at first and eventually found it. We sat there and had lunch, and we talked about it. And I suggested to Trigger how the next couple of days would work, where I'd be taking my zero on the Thursday, he'd be taking his on the Saturday. We'd walk an equivalent amount of miles, and that would work out. He seemed okay with it, so that was good. I then went down to the water and soaked my feet. This is the second day now of my new boots, and I'm doing okay with them. I mean, they're uncomfortable from time to time, but they're getting better and better. We carried on hiking, came to a place called White Rocks, and just after that, there's a rock garden. And basically, these are cairns. These people put a rock down, then they put another rock on top, then another rock on top, and another rock on top, and they form little mini pyramids, and then there's another rock here, and they're all over the place. Tons of beautiful little things. But that's what the cairns are, and that's what the rock garden is known as. So we carried on going, and I felt kind of strange saying goodbye to Trigger. It was a green wall shelter just short of Route Vermont 140, and we just punched hands. I said, I'll see you Sunday, and headed off down. And do you know what? When I got away by myself, I suddenly thought, while I miss him, it was nice to get my little bit of independence back. And this thing of hike your own hike keeps coming to mind always. So he's okay with it. I'm okay with it. We're going to carry on hiking together. He's definitely made me hike better. definitely made me more accountable and really, really helped me get this far. So I want to carry on that relationship, but it was good to get away from him for a couple of days. I think everybody needs a break from time to time. So that worked out fine. And when I got down to Route 140, I was able to get a hitch straight into Wallingford. Two guys dropped me right at the lights, which then took me another hitch into Rutland, and I booked in at the Hampton Inn. So that's where I am for my zero on Thursday, which I'm going to tell you about now. But that's the end of day number 135. Day number 136, a 0 day. Well, I watched the Cricket World Cup. I set the alarm for 5:15 this morning. Watched the Cricket World Cup, which is about a 6-hour game. Yeah, I know you don't understand the concept of cricket, but it was a fantastic game. And England beat the Australians to get into the final against New Zealand on Sunday. So, the plan is now I'm going to have the rest of today off, which is Thursday. I'm then going to go out hiking again tomorrow, which is Friday. I'm actually going to meet up with Judy Mikesell. And you may remember she was a guest on the show a long time ago, episode 60-something or other. She's doing about 5 miles of each state, which is kind of neat. I rather like that. And Judy and I are having breakfast tomorrow. She's going hiking again. And I'll get back on the trail tomorrow after breakfast with Judy. And I'll try to get over Killington in 2 days, which would take me through to Saturday evening, where I'm going to stop at a hotel or motel or something somewhere, hopefully the inn at Long Trail, because I love that place. And if I can do that, that would be great. And then Sunday morning, I'm going to watch the World Cup final at 5:30 in the morning, because it's on at 10:30 English time. And that should finish about 1ish, maybe 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And then I will head out and hopefully meet up with Trigger. His brother's going to drop him back at the trail wherever he dropped him off. We're going to try to meet up that night at a shelter, which we both agree with. Now, Turd, Ferguson and Sharktooth turned up at the same hotel I'm at again. So totally coincidental. Neither knew the other one was checking in here. So we're going to have dinner later. But that is the end of day number 136. And you're now up to date with where we are. Vermont's nearly over. Really enjoyed some of it, not all of it. It's funny actually, since Pennsylvania, my view of some of the states has changed quite dramatically. Connecticut was much better state to hike in than I thought. And I think possibly because we were hiking with Dr. Lynn for a little while. We saw Dr. Lynn there and she knew about Connecticut, so that was lovely to do. We met up with Mary in Connecticut. It was just a good fun place to be. I really enjoyed it and I really enjoyed the hiking in it. New York was difficult because of the sort of upturned rocks, as it were. These with all the rain on, I fell a few times in New York. I found that very, very difficult. And but Vermont, I think I've got more and more into Vermont as I've gone along. I didn't like it at first. There was too much mud, and there's still too much mud, by the way. But it is a great prep for what's coming up, and I know what's coming up is going to be spectacular. It's going to be marvellous when we get into New Hampshire. It's just going to be extraordinary. So I'm looking forward to that more and more. And, well, we just have to see. You just have to tune in next time to see what happens next. I'll see you next time.